For you?
I'm all right. Tired, but all right.
I got absolutely nothing done with my passion project.
Oh man, how dare you?
I because I got a lot of things going on in my life. Like one of my contracts is slated to end, I think in like 3 or 4 weeks, and so I've been I've been surging my efforts uh, to try to get as much done as reasonably possible with a little bit above and beyond uh, before it terminates. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how I might like decide to put in a random hour worth of work at like 8 in the evening or like 6 in the morning or something. Just trying to get something in. It's weird if they haven't asked me to demo anything unless they're just pulling down my repo and just running it themselves.
Hmm.
They've never asked me to demo, and I've been building this thing for I think like 3 weeks now. So has it been 3 weeks? 2 or 3 weeks. So
Something you enjoy working on, though? Must be if you're doing it in off hours.
no, I mean it's not bad. I mean like they got hella wireframes, and so like it's the UX is well thought out, and there's hella wireframes for me to reference. So it's kind of straightforward. What's interesting about this project is I have to build so many custom controls to accommodate the wireframes or to basically match the spec of the wireframes. And so it's really digging into my like XAML and data binding with custom control know-how from like back in the day.
Hmm.
So I found myself writing a lot of plumbing to get my bindings to work because it's
Hmm.
not just view models. It's literally uh, writing the plumbing, writing the plumbing for item source for all the various commands that a user that this custom control is supposed to support. So I do all these. I don't know what it's called. Dependency. What is it called? Registered dependencies or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
So that's it.
Is it just were they using a particular style that XAML doesn't have right out, like material design or something, or is it
Um.
really like custom
Well,
controls?
that's part of it too, which I haven't even got to that part where there's a separate NuGet package that's owned by Xamarin for automatically converting your basic controls into a material design interface or controls.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't even done that yet. My thought process is uh, get the get the proof of concept working and wired up so that when they decide to ask you for a demo, you can show them something versus you trying to accommodate the latest and greatest package support and pixel perfect stuff, like which the devil's in the details. So I'm just trying to get everything up and running that looks at least 80% what the wireframes look like.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's it. So like, no, they don't have like custom controls. It's the way their wireframes are that exposes user controls that need to be created, right? So if you see like a certain set of controls that are packaged together, and they tend to be shared across various wireframes, then to me that's a custom control that is supposed to work as a single component that is
Sure.
a composite of separate controls. So
Yeah. Okay.
so it's tapping into my XAML fundamentals, my WPF plumbing fundamentals. But yeah, it's just going through the motions and like trying. They have you heard of Figma?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're using Figma to host their UX wireframes, and I haven't yet gone through the exercise of taking whatever assets that they have on there and converting it to image files or SVG files. So I've just been pretty much just plugging in ASCII text everywhere. Any symbol that's close enough, I just plug it in, and then I'll just do a second pass and swap everything out with images. So yeah, that's it.
They're not. Do their UX people not give you the images, do the cuts or whatever for you?
I think Figma supports exporting the various items that compose into their wireframes. I think you could select individual like items or controls within the wireframe and export it as an image. It's just I'm a virgin to Figma, and so I didn't want to burn half a day to a day trying to understand the ins and outs of how to use it, how to use the tool. So I don't know. I'm curious what your strategy is because with me, it's like just get the workflow done in a dimmable state. Just go 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 go. Don't get caught up in the details, because that'll kill you. Archive that or defer that until you have no choice but to be confronted with it. And so with me, I try to that's my approach is try to get things done and worry about the minute details later. What's your strategy?
I'll usually try to finish, one chunk at a time. I mean, I might, if there's some wiring I have to do across pages or whatever, I'll get that going. But I usually like to build out. If I have wireframes like that, especially, I'll build out the page as is, spec'd the first time, before moving on to a next bit.
Would your approach be different if you weren't a full-time employee, and if you
No.
were just on contract and you don't know if you're going to be extended or not? Would your mentality or your approach to how to get work done change based on what they may prioritize
Well,
to keep you around?
if they prioritize, say, hey, we don't care so much about what this looks like, we just want the functionality put in, then I might go that route. But if I have wireframes,
Yeah.
I'll build those out,
Yeah.
to the T, and then I'll move on to the next page. Especially too because a lot of the UX and stuff, like, it demos better, even if like what's behind it isn't functioning as well. It's like, oh yeah, this looks as pretty as I thought it was in my head. Even though you deliver functionality, if it's not pretty, a lot of people, like, people are so visual and aesthetic in nature that they don't really understand all the work that goes into behind the scenes of it.
Yeah. So
People can, sometimes if a site kind of stinks, it can be somewhat forgiven if it looks okay. Or it'll even be perceived as better than it is, even if it sucks really bad behind the scenes. But I don't know.
that's true.
Yeah.
Then I I googled F# jobs and saw a post for a F# tutor. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll do this. Yeah. So they left their WhatsApp. They said message them on WhatsApp, and I think 321 is the Orlando area code, I think. So I'm like, all right, well, this is like 6 in the morning. Yeah. Hey, I specialize in F# and a whole bunch of other things. Saw your post, right? And then they reply, and they're like, they pretty much give me a project description of some like Twitter clone. Like they paste that into the WhatsApp message, and
No
it's
context or just
like, no,
description.
He just copy paste the whole description, and it's like, again, I responded to the post of an F# tutor, and like what they and he it was just misleading because what the actual work had nothing to do with tutoring at all. They want you to do some clone of Twitter for who knows what reason. It just seemed very grimy and like,
yeah, maybe
it's
somebody
like
who's
what you see, those posts that you see on those Upwork and all that stuff where people are trying to clone popular platforms for who knows what reason. It's just like, why would you say F# mentor and that's not the job?
yeah, well, tutor, yeah, maybe it's
Or yeah, tutor, yeah.
yeah, maybe it's just tutor implies that they're in school of some sort, right? So maybe they need to do this as a project, and they're just
No, this was not a school project. This wasn't.
or maybe somebody's like really just naive and said, I'm going to try to jump on the fact that everyone hates Twitter right now and build out something, and I can't get a developer, so maybe if I frame this as a tutor,
No,
who knows?
it's just a grimy practice. Like, I just don't agree with. Like,
Yeah,
why? Yeah.
sounds odd. So
I bought Halo Wars 2 like 3 or 4 years ago, and I could not get on multiplayer. And I'm like, man, this game sucks. So I had already spent my money, and I just shelved it. And then I'm looking up real-time strategy games for Series X, and Halo Wars 2 showed up. Of course, it was before Series X. And then I look up Halo Wars 2 on YouTube, and I see all these videos, like recent videos, like yesterday and last week. And I'm like, I thought that game was abandoned, right? I thought they tried to put it out, decided that they weren't going to work on the bugs or the multiplayer, and like I've been missing out for like the last 3 years. So
yeah, I think most games have just like a small following that is pretty constant. Like if you spent all that time putting time into a game, getting good at it, it's hard to just be like, you know what, I'm going to go to somewhere else because there's more people.
Well, it was just I couldn't get on multiplayer when I bought the game. And I'm like, I should never experience that. Like, it was just bugging out. Because I used to spend hours every day playing the original Halo Wars. I would get so much racist hate mail because I was that good. Like, I was good. Now I have a feeling that I'm going to be playing this Halo Wars 2. I'm going to be getting a lot of hate mail because I like to rush.
I hate rush.
No, I used to like I don't know if you're familiar with Halo Wars, but I would like immediately my build order would be spend half of my resources starting out before as soon as the game starts, like on the first like second, pumping out an elephant, and the elephant is like a mobile. It's kind of like a mobile base that's really
Hmm.
really slow and very very vulnerable. I would pump that out within 40 seconds. That elephant would be at the enemy base. I would literally sit it on the enemy pad if they haven't started building a pad yet. So once it sits or plants itself on the pad, they can't they can't put anything on that pad. And then I would just start spamming out soldiers. Soldiers would jump out the elephant and just start attacking their base. And so I got a lot of hate mail because of that. But like I love that game. I don't know anything about PC games and real time strategy, but I don't know, man. I felt like a general. I mean, I was ranked as a general, and I
So
would just
the pad is where they would build basically like a town center,
the,
essentially.
the pad is
Or
where they. So each pad you can either create a supply, supply resources pad where like it generates your economy or your money,
Mhm.
or you could build a I forgot what the actual terms are, but like a pad for infantry where you could pump out soldiers, or a pad for vehicles where you could pump out tanks and or an aircraft pad where you could pump out warplanes.
How many
So
pads were there? Have to be a lot of them.
by default, I think there was like 5 pads per base. Some leaders you can expand it to like 7 pads. But my whole strategy was to pump out these elephants, which no one uses because they're just hella vulnerable, hella slow, and people never really recognized the value strategically of how you can use it. And the value is early in the game. The whole point of all right, this is my philosophy. You can tell me yours, right? My philosophy is kind of like the FBI. It's like the feds. Shut them down before they even get started, right? And so if I can force their hand, if I can influence them to build what I want them to build, if I can influence them to instead of them generate focusing on generating revenue so that mid game or late game they dominate everything. No, I'm going to force them into go into defense mode. I'm going to force them to start spending all their resources on torrents and on building minuscule infantry, so that while they're defending in parallel, not only am I spamming them, but I'm building up my economy as they're spending their economy. And so that strategy, I will win 80% of my games within the first 5 minutes, just off of that strategy. And if they were able to successfully, I can't find the right word, not resist. This is a better word for that. English language is too complicated. If they were able to successfully defend
Hmm.
against that and ultimately destroy my rush, then I knew it was going to be a minimum of a 1 hour game at least. My longest game was 3 hours. But yeah, that game came out. Halo Wars came out in 2009. Hey Roman, Halo Wars came out in 2009, and I spent a lot of my time just playing that game. While other people were playing like Call of Duty, I was just logging hella hours on that RTS game, and a lot of people just didn't get it. They're like, I don't understand that game. It looks dumb. But
Yeah. No, I like RTSs. We used to play Age of Empires 2 back in the day, and I got into Age of Mythology as well, which had it had a pattern similar where you could only build certain things on like these town centers on these particular spots, which is why I was asking about the pads. But it sounds like that was more restrictive with Halo Wars. And then Empire Earth was one of my favorites uh, because it was just a beast of a game. But yeah, I was playing Age of Empires 2 online maybe a couple years ago, quite a bit, but I never really liked the rush strategy. mean, I'd have to always get a wall going really quickly on whatever map I'm playing to prevent that rush strategy from working. But
Well, you don't like it because you had to defend against it?
yeah, well, like what I like about the game is building up and then having big massive battles, and then I'll do like I don't know, like a carpet burn type thing. I'll just like leave behind a lot. I'll build houses randomly just to provide uh, like my strategy a lot of times would be get as much wood as possible and build just a lot of houses so that if they attacked me, they'd have to go through, piles and piles and piles of houses that would give me enough time to catch up.
That
And
might that might be fine when it's one
yeah,
versus one, right? But when you're playing like when you're playing 2 versus 2, 3 versus 3, um, I got to knock someone out early in the game, so then it becomes 3 versus 2. Like the whole point is to dominate and to control the
oh,
game.
I know,
It's just like basketball, just like football,
I
right?
know.
So yeah, like to me, rushing is to completely disrupt what they thought they were going to do and to force their hand to what I want them to do, which is defend, spend all your money, have your neighbors have to stop their plan of what they wanted to do, and now spend their money on trying to defend you, right? And so,
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm trying to figure out who I can compare myself to in reality without getting myself in trouble, but I'm very strategic. So,
Did you ever play Command and Conquer Generals at all?
no, I think I downloaded one of those games, but I'm not. I'm not. Was it Red Alert? I don't know what the game was called. The answer is no. Everything feels weird when I try to play anything other than Halo Wars. Right, and again, I'm not a PC gamer, so like I'm speaking from like the attempts on the console.
Yeah, yeah. PC might be a totally different ball game for you because it's like, man, it's like you can move. Some people can move so fast with all the keyboard shortcuts to all the houses and units and everything. They just go 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 go. I was getting to the point where I learned a few of the key commands so that I would do it was called a castle rush, where I would get to the castle age within Age of Empires, then build out a bunch of horses or paladins or whatever to go and do a raid, because they were strong enough to do that. And so it was all about optimizing getting through the first two ages, to get to castle where you'd get these units available to you, which was there was a very particular way to accomplish it quickly, which involved getting sheep and hoarding them into your town center and building out particular units and getting enough wood. And yeah, I got fairly methodical about it, but I really just hated attacking. I really hated getting attacked early on because, I mean, you're right. If it's a good strategy, they will win. If they come in and I'm not ready for it, I don't have any soldiers built up. But like I said, my favorite thing is when you get into the later ages of the game and you can actually
The epic battles.
epic battles, yeah, trebuchets everywhere, and you're defending or attacking, and you're having to spam build disposable units just to keep or respond to the fact that they bring in a bunch of some unit. And I don't know, it's fun.
It makes you reflect on the decisions that generals have to make, like which soldiers or which units are disposable in order for us to complete our objective. Like, and I know that has to happen, right? And if it's not with the United States military, maybe it's the military of some lesser developed country, right? Where like they know that they're going to have to sacrifice some pawns, and it's an ends to a means. So for me, I know I'm going to sacrifice my infantry early in the game, just so that I can control the game, right? So they're disposable. I know they're going to die, but this is what I need to do in order for me to maintain control of the entire game, right? So
Yeah, like
I'm addicted to the power, man. Like I'm very competitive just by default, and I'm just addicted. Like I never really got into like playing against the computer because the computer is not a mind. One can argue it's the mind of the programmer, but
yeah,
I
no,
like
I know exactly what you
real
mean.
time. I like being superior to others. Like it's the superiority complex, and so like I like forcing my superior intellect on others to make them feel small because I have low self esteem and it makes me feel good. So yeah.
No, I know exactly what you mean about, and it's to me, it's not about that, but it's yeah, the challenge that you get when you're playing against people is just it's 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 not it's just not the same playing against computers. And like I think actually when I went to my first LAN party way back in the day and I played competitive gaming, that ruined pretty much all other forms of types of games for me because it's the rush of actually facing people who can do interesting things or tricky things is just crazy. Like like in the game of Age of Empires, you could there was the capability where you could mow down forests with these catapults or onagers, I think are what they're called. But you could mow down forests. So what sometimes people would do is they would mow down the forest and build like a secret second base behind inside of the deep in the forest, so that like you go through and you wipe out their forest and you think you're done, but then they've got this whole another set of stuff built up, and then you think you're done with them, but suddenly 5 minutes later they show up with a giant army, and now you're having to deal with them and their other people, and you're like, where the hell did this come from? Like people, computers don't do that. Like they're very particular in the way that they operate, and I don't know.
I would purposely keep some of my units in my base concealed, so I keep it on lockdown, and I would only expose like infantry or whatever I wanted my enemy to think I was using, and I would purposely wait for them to come to my base. So they would come to my base with one unit, but it's kind of like rock paper scissors, right? Based
Mm-hmm.
on this kills that, that kills this, blah. And so like that's the other strategy that I enjoy is it's kind of like I'm not a poker player, but it's kind of like poker, man, where like you're trying to get again. It's another dimension of you trying to force them to play a hand, right? Um, and then when they do, you unload your counter attack that just decimates everything, and then you just plow through every other base, right? So yeah, I haven't. It's been almost like 8 or 9 years since I was in that mode, but I'm excited again. I'm waiting for my. I bought like hella equipment, man. I spent like $4,000 in the past 7 days upgrading my entertainment area, and so I'm just waiting for my TV to get delivered. My Sonos got delivered yesterday. My television stand gets delivered probably in a couple days. I realized I was paying for internet for 8 years, and it was automatically included in my complex. That's something I'm pissed off about. I spent like $7,000 in the past 8 years on something that was already covered.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it depends on how decent your complex internet is. Like we had free internet at my at one of the places I stayed, and the thing is, you're competing with everyone else for the resources that's in your complex. So having a dedicated line, we still bought one anyways.
Mm,
But
yeah,
it may not be a big deal nowadays because I don't know. Miami's probably got a pretty thick pipe coming out of.
there's no fiber internet down here, man. I'm trying to figure out what this plane is. I saw 3 fighter jets like 4 days ago flying over South Beach. It was weird.
Hmm.
No, we don't. Did they have fiber where you're at?
Yeah, I think so.
Not down
Yeah.
here. I don't know. I don't know if it's because of sea level, but like, so like, I spent hella money, and it's kind of like buying a Ferrari or whatever. Where like, once you spend that money on whatever item that is, then you have to spend even more money on the ecosystem to support that item or that asset, right? So now, like, I got to upgrade my internet. I had to uh, get a hell of an expensive sound bar. I didn't even know what a sound bar was. So now I'm spending all this money just to accommodate this television for my gaming. All right. So
Are you is your so you are keeping with your own internet? Because as I say, if your complex has it, is it a
no,
dedicated is it a
dude,
dedicated line or is it wireless?
I think it's dedicated. But look, it's this. This
Okay.
is how ignorant I am. I've been paying $70 roughly a month. Brace yourself for 16 megabits per second.
Jeez.
That's what I've been paying for.
What does your complex get?
And I called a competitor internet provider, and they're like, "You're paying what?" And they're like, "You realize your complex is already covered. You get cable channels with us too, and all that is covered for free. Now, if you want more speed, then you could pay the difference. But yeah, we already have a contract with your complex, and we give you like 8 times the speed of what you're paying for, and
Oh,
oh yeah, and it's all free." I'm like, I've been doing this for like 8 years. I've been paying this bill, so
jeez.
yeah, I feel horrible, man. I kind of wish I didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're paying for 250 megabits up and down. So, but I don't know. You'd think that
But
we'd get crap out here. I've lived in an area where we've had crap internet before. When I moved right after college, when I started my job, I moved to this little town called Newfolden, which is maybe like 200 people or something like that, or maybe less than that, up kind of in the northwest area of Minnesota. And the internet provider there was just it was awful. Like we would get like maybe 1 meg up and down. I don't know. It was bad. Um, it was just awful. And then to boot, they had a security filter like a firewall type thing built in. So like if you try to go to certain sites, it would block you, saying like, "Oh, this is a naughty site" or whatever. Um, and you
don't you
know,
have to opt into that though?
no, it was opt out. You'd have to opt out of it. And
Okay. Well, okay.
it's like who cares,
Yeah.
about some stuff, but they would mistakenly like, peg certain things. And I didn't want to be the guy to call up and say, "Hey, can you?" Yeah. So like
I didn't know what that meant until like 2 years ago when someone told me.
oh geez, yeah. They would flag. Let's say that's a better word. Um, they would flag certain sites. Like I was trying to download a mod for this game called Gary's Mod, and then it would be like, "Oh, this is not a good whatever." So we're not going to let you go to this website. But I didn't want to be the guy that calls up and be like, "Hey, internet provider, can you make it so I can watch porn?" Because that's not what what I'd even be calling for. But just calling up and saying, "Hey, can you shut this off?" would be
Yeah.
it's paramount to that. It's like calling up and saying, "Hey, I want you to make it so that I can get to the naughty sites." You know?
I immediately think about staying at a hotel, and like they have the programs, but they show you all the previews of the programs so you can pay for. and it's the naughty programs. I'm like, I don't want them to know who I am. So
yeah. So
if I'm able to get back to 100,000 in savings, I'm going to strongly consider not being as aggressive in seeking employment. And I'm just going to try to go pro for like 60 days to figure out if I could get a following.
Oh, for streaming or what?
Yeah, because I pay like $25 a month for the StreamYard because I just paid for it. Before it was like free, but I started using up all my bandwidth when I started streaming myself programming in addition to these masterminds.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I say I was really good, I mean, it might all be in my mind, but like you can't pick and choose who you play against. Like I win like 80% of my games, right? That was back in the day. I'm sure it's probably going to take me a week or so to relearn the muscle memory. But yeah, I want to, which is why I need to upgrade my internet. Have you ever streamed your games before?
Yeah. Not. I think I streamed one game of PUBG once, or a couple games of PUBG once, and then League of Legends a few times. Yeah.
How much can I make in the local circuit or nothing? Like, do you really have to be that good that you have to be pretty much, you don't have a life, you can't have a girlfriend, can't have a kid, can't have a dog? Like, is it pretty much like that, the lifestyle?
I think that from what I've read about, or heard about professional streamers, is that it's a gig like anything else. You've got to be there at a specific time every, day or every week or whatever. You have to have a consistent schedule, and you have to put in the time. And it's going to take a long time. You don't get a following overnight. The other thing that's hard about it is you have to be good at the game, but you have to be good while also being entertaining. So it's not just about.
Oh, so you got to market yourself.
Well, yeah, it's if you go watch. Have you watched many of the streaming, like people streaming
on YouTube? I might watch it for like maybe 3 minutes. Like last night, I was watching a Halo Wars 2 game, but I would just keep fast forwarding until I got to the epic battle. Thanks. You're the first one to love my streams because I don't really do anything professionally, but have conversations. I'm like a really, really bad version of Joe Rogan, right?
Yeah, it seems like a bot. But anyways.
Oh, is it? Oh, I'm having a conversation. Okay. I'm having a conversation with a bot.
Zoom-like meeting? What is that? I don't know. Maybe not. It just seems weird. So, anyways, but yeah, I don't know. Like, you have to put in the time, and you have to be entertaining. You have to, you've got to talk to your people while you're gaming, and that's not an easy thing to do, to be good at and to be able to converse with people.
Okay, it is a bot.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh, I wish there was a way. I mean, I'm paying for the service. Is there not a way I could ban? I don't know how to do this. Anyways, I'll just click private chat so I don't have to look at the messages. Anyways, yeah, man. So I don't know how, with everything I got going on in my life, how I'm going to pull it off. And I mean, I'll be honest with myself, I'm probably not, because I'll probably have maybe 1 hour a day to play without someone interrupting me.
Yeah. Yeah, to be consistent at it. I suppose if you can get on at the same time every day and put in that hour.
Yeah, it would have to be early in the morning or late at night. And I'm pulled in all directions, man. So I don't.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
The other thing I hear is that like if you're going to go into a popular game and stream it like a Call of Duty or League of Legends or Valorant or any of those games, like you're in a sea of a bunch of other people streaming, so the opportunity to find you is pretty low.
Well, hold on.
Like you can,
I'm
it's
pulling
just
the
going to
race
take a long
card.
time.
Aren't I interesting because I'm a like underrepresented minority? Or no, it doesn't matter.
Not in gaming.
People just care about skill. They don't care about skin color or politics. They just want
I
to.
don't think in gaming, man. I think in gaming everyone's pretty well, pretty well equal footing there. So
Who to be a professional means that you make your money off of sponsors, or you just make your money off of tournaments? Or yes,
to be a professional streamer or a gamer.
well, I guess both. It was gamer.
Yeah, well, to be a professional gamer, you're getting paid just like any professional athlete is. But you know, where thing about professional gaming is that you're probably too old. That's one thing that does get people though. Like it's not a rate, like age is a big thing.
Why?
Just to compete against 18-year-olds who can spend their entire day doing it and have the reaction speed of an 18-year-old. Like so I'll give you just people who play League of Legends, and I think there was a pro player who's maybe 28 and they're considered like a dinosaur. Like it's not like football where people go into their 40s or whatever and will still be playing. No, it's like if you're in your 30s, that you'd be an ancient. Like I don't think there's any pro League of Legends players that are over the age of 28 maybe. So so it is kind of an age thing. Now I don't know why. It would be kind of cool if there was like another tier where you could play as an older adult. So
Yeah, you just deflated my what?
Maybe that guy isn't a bot. He actually identified something in my picture.
Oh, we're sorry, Magino. It's just yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Streaming though, you can do streaming at any age, and you get paid through sponsors, but you get paid through like on Twitch. I think people can subscribe to you, and they'll pay you so much money a month or whatnot to support you. So it's built into the platform. So I don't know if you've ever done that or not, but
Hold on, say it again. I was typing. What?
So like on Twitch, you can go on and you can subscribe to someone
stuff.
Yeah, and so what you do is you pay like a monthly whatever, and then you get a percentage of that. I'm not sure how much it is, but that's how a lot of people will make money there is through that. Now, if you're doing YouTube, people do YouTube, and then if people watch your streams in perpetuity, if you can get subscribers there, and build content that's interesting, you'll get ad revenue.
You know what's weird? It's weird, right? It's just flat out weird, right? So I've been spending a little bit more time on Twitch, and I'm like, let me see what's outside of programming, right? And I'm like, oh, there's a girl on here. She has big boobs. Let me click on her, right? And I see these women on here under the category of like just chatting or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And they're literally just chatting, and they have like 8,000 viewers, and they're getting a donation like every 2 minutes. And, and like they're not talking about any they're not talking about things. They're not talking about ideas.
Yeah, they're just flirting.
They're not producing value. They're not helping people improve their lives. They're just literally just chatting about, what they did last night, what their dog looks like. And these people are like, they have 8,000 people and they're getting like they're like getting donations. And I'm like, what's the profile of men? I assume they're men, right? That just send someone money. I don't understand that. Like, I don't know. I mean, I consider myself a lonely person, but like, there's a lot of lonely people out there, man. That behaves that's more extreme than me. All right, I thought I was weird for like just watching the stream for a couple minutes and scratching my head like, I don't understand how this person is making money. But there's people out there that like they'll put on their makeup, they'll make sure their cleavage is showing, and money just starts trickling in. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
WTF?
Yeah, that happens. So
How do I become the male version of that? I'm gonna put
I
on
don't
some
think
lip.
there is such a thing.
I'm gonna put
It's
on
like
some
going
lip
to a
gloss.
bar and expecting expecting a bunch of girls to buy you drinks. Like, it's not going to happen.
I'm gonna cater towards guys. I'm gonna put on lip gloss. I'm gonna start doing a lot of wrist action when I talk, and maybe I could get the same thing. Yeah,
Maybe.
yeah. I'm gonna try that out. So.
Yeah, that could work. I don't know.
Anyway,
I think the trick nowadays to get into this kind of stuff, streaming or even YouTube, is probably to pick a niche that isn't well explored. I was thinking about this, about trying to build out a fish house and doing that on YouTube.
what is a fish house?
A fish.
I have to
You
Google
don't
that.
have fish house. You don't have fish houses in Cleveland or an ice shanty or anything like that.
I
It's
mean,
just like
maybe, but I've never heard of it. I mean, that's not my lifestyle. I don't know what it is. Blue
so
Marlin.
like you
It's a
go out.
restaurant.
No. You go out like in the winter. You go ice fishing. So you go out on a lake. You basically, they have small campers or whatever that'll sit on the ice. And you go out there and you ice fish. So
Cleveland's a black city, man. Like we,
but you don't have lakes around Ohio or anything like that.
yeah, but that's the reason why I say Cleveland's a black city because the majority of black people don't voluntarily do things outside in the code. And so, like, yeah, in rural areas of Ohio, there's probably things like that, but like
Sure.
I haven't. This is my first time even hearing that term before.
Oh, so I went to this school called Bemidji State, and it's right on a lake, and so we'd get foreign students or whatever, and you get some, and I guess somebody told me this story about they went and they picked up one of the foreign students and were bringing them to campus, and they looked out on the lake because they brought them in the middle of winter, and all of the advertisement has Bemidji in the summer when it's on a lake, it's green and blue and it's pretty, and you get there and there it's frozen over, there's snow everywhere and trees, but the they picked this person up and asked, and they were driving by the school and they're like, why do you guys put all the poor people out in that field? And it was because all these ice shanties, all these ice fish houses were sitting out in the middle of the lake, because students would actually, people wouldn't go out there normally, but then students would actually have ice houses out there so that they could fish between classes and stuff like that. So, but yeah, no, a fish house is basically just like it's just a shack that you can put on to a lake, and you can get really nice ones.
That's where you cut the hole in the ice, and then you.
Yep. Yeah, you fish through the hole in the ice. But it's mostly about drinking, and
Let me use the fish house. Maybe that's a Minnesota term.
ice shanty is another term that people will use, but
Okay.
It's a pretty small season. Like it's only from January. It's like late December to the end of February is the season for it.
And I YouTubed it, and there's hella videos about fish houses. Just
Yeah,
like
there's a lot.
just like when I was researching sound bars and calibrating televisions, like these people have every single Google is a search engine, right? I mean, YouTube is a search engine, and like, I mean, you're right. Anything that's like niche, I always get confused. Is it niche or niche? Anything that's
I think
niche,
it's either or. Yeah.
like, there's always an audience for it. It's weird.
Yeah. Yeah. What I want to do is do like a tiny house, because there's all these tiny house videos too. I want to do like tiny fish house, building from scratch fish. And
But
actually, I've been like
why is
thinking
that
about
even?
it.
I
Huh?
don't understand why that's even popular though. Like,
Fish house?
yeah, like you're. I don't. I don't get it.
Well, a lot of it is about, you know, catching fish
Is
for
it
the
just
start. But
being disconnected? Is that the part that's like alluring?
yeah, I don't know. There's a whole, maybe it's just something to do, but a lot of it is about snowmobiling and getting out to your shack and setting it up, and people will drink out there and have a good time.
And is it
Uh,
even safe? I mean, you're on the ice, right?
yeah, the ice is thick though. Like they'll like people drive trucks out there, like they have giant houses and complexes and stuff like that, or not houses, but big
Not
fish houses, thousands of pounds, like no problem.
not in the States though.
Yeah, yeah.
The ice. How thick does the ice get on Lake Erie? Or
Oh,
what?
not on a big like. Well, I don't think they get. I don't think you get. Well, you get huge ice on like Superior and stuff like that. But it's not. I don't think it's. I don't know if people go ice fishing on the Great Lakes, because there's just so much motion. They're so big. But
And they got so much chemicals in it that I would just assume that it would take probably a little bit. It would have to be. It wouldn't be 0 degrees Celsius for that water to freeze just because of how polluted it is. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's my thought process.
no, I think it freezes. I just don't know that it's. I don't know if it freezes to the point where it's safe. But like any of the lakes in Minnesota, other than Superior, they're all fishable. Um, Usually in late December, because I mean it gets to be under 30 degrees for weeks at a time, and you get 2-3 feet of ice, and you're not worried about it. Um, yeah, like dude, if you go to, like went out ice fishing on Mille Lacs with a group last year, and at night, man, it's like the whole lake is just a party, like set up. There's because all these fish houses have these lights on them, and it's like you're looking at a small little city of just people out on the lake. It's kind of neat. So
I mean, I'll add it to my bucket list. Is there like a popular event or festival?
yeah, I guess you could go. Actually, there's one right in the town where I live. It's the ice fishing extravaganza on Gull Lake. Let me see if I can get you. Probably the biggest fishing tournament in U.S. or in the world, probably. It's literally at icefishing.org. Oh, that's weird. But this is like you get prizes, and like this is like an international thing. People come from all over to do this ice fishing extravaganza in Brainerd.
Mm,
Did you get that link?
yeah, I see it. It took a while for it to load up.
Yeah, it's a little slow.
That's crazy. Yeah, this is definitely cultural. Yeah, like you're not going to see my kind out there. Like you might see like you're not.
It calls all over me.
It's I bet you it's
calls on
Russian.
everyone, man.
No, I bet you it's probably Russians. Maybe very few Native Americans that live out in like Canada or Alaska. Like people, they don't voluntarily just freeze.
Oh yeah, they do. I think we've had people from Japan out doing this. We've had, like I said, it's an international event, so like people come from all over the place to do this.
The Jamaican bobsled team. That was a weird paradox.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, that's why you build the fish houses, is that you're not freezing then. Like, you go in there and you can be in t-shirt and shorts.
Won't that melt the ice, or you're just not in there? Like, if you warm things up, that won't create a safety hazard for what you're sitting on.
No. Maybe if you're in really early ice, but they don't allow houses out when it's dangerous. So, no, I mean, you're talking about ice that's like 2-3 feet thick at time. Places it gets to be the point where it's just land. I mean, it's like going to Antarctica, or it's like going to the Arctic Circle or something. It's just the thick ice. It's might as well be Earth, because you're just walking on land essentially.
Okay.
People drive trucks. People drive. They have these giant ice castles, or like if you look up what an ice castle is, like you can get a really cool, fish house that's just like, I don't know, how big is the biggest one that they sell? 8-foot models. So they have 8 foot by 17 foot. No, 8 foot by 22 foot is their biggest one.
Hold on, what's the difference between an ice castle and an ice house? They look this.
Ice castle is an ice house.
Okay.
It's just a particular brand of it's just a particular popular brand of fish house. But I mean, it's basically like an RV or a camper. Like it's you sleep there. There's a toilet. There's a stove, fridge. It's got power, all that kind of stuff. So like people will basically drop that out on the lake, late December, and then they'll go out fishing for a couple months and then they take it off.
You think Southerners ever migrate up north to partake in this? Yeah,
probably.
I don't think so. You think Southerners literally like, oh, it's wintertime, let's go up north. We're going to be winter birds.
No, not for ice fishing. It's something that people will come here and do though. So we went out with a group ice fishing. Was it 2 years ago now? I just saw it on something, but what am I thinking here? They had a guy come over from Ireland, a couple guys from Ireland to go, and they had never been ice fishing before, and they took him out ice fishing, and like, I don't know, we rented a cabin, and so we just stayed at the cabin. We drove out to the lake. Like, they had a big area set up. We brought a fire pit out and had a fire on the lake. It's pretty fun. But I think people will come here to try ice fishing, one time, like you said, as a bucket list item, because why not? So I'm trying to see if I could find a image of that adventure.
Block coding. What is block coding?
Block coding?
I'm on the comments thing, talking to Magino.
Is Java, but in blocks.
What does that mean?
Oh, it's probably like, you ever use Scratch?
No.
Like a drag and drop coding where they've got.
Is it for a teaching?
Literally,
programming?
Yeah, I think so.
Where are you from, Magino? I have a feeling you're Asian, because Magino, for whatever reason, makes me think it's. What is Magino? Mulan, Mugino. I don't know. I feel like it's related. Hold on, Milan's Italy, right? United States. Okay. What are you looking up, Sean?
Oh, I was trying to find a picture of that fishing event that we had a couple years ago, but I literally just saw it on my stream like a thing a couple days ago, but I don't know. So I turned down that job.
Yeah. Did they respond back, or they just let it go?
They just kind of responded back to give context. They said it was there was a shared template, and they there's a shared template, and he didn't pay careful enough attention to it.
If regardless if it's a shared template, why would a template have 45 hours a week?
Yeah, well, that's something I didn't understand either, and so I just said, hey, I believe you. Like, yeah, it could be an honest mistake, but I'm like, that irrational part of my brain is going to sit there, and I'm going to have to fight with it every step of the way to think that, anytime that you do anything that I wouldn't remotely, agree with, it would be, did they do this? Yeah,
I don't understand how 45 hours can be on the template. That's still, yeah.
It's odd.
I think he made the right decision. Like, I think that there would be. I mean, I could be wrong, but like, I'm not sure if there's a word for it, but like, when companies like Google are willing to be wrong about a hire because it's it's less disruptive impact to be wrong for not hiring the right person than to hire the wrong person.
Yeah.
Kind of, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's a calculated gamble where you're hedging your bet on on what could be the worst case.
I sent you a picture on Twitter then of that group that I went ice fishing with a couple of years ago. You can see that there's a truck in the background, and that's just out on the ice.
So you sent me a picture. Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I think one of the guys in that picture is the guy probably, because I'm on the far right.
They all look alike.
Well,
they all got beards except for the baby face in the front row.
Oh, yeah, that's my brother-in-law.
Okay.
So, yeah. But I think the guy that's on the bottom to the far right that's sitting is kind of in front of me. He's Irish, I think. So he came over from Ireland to do this with the guy who's in the Vikings jersey behind him, who's my brother-in-law's brother. So
they have crazy accents.
Yeah, he had the whole Irish accent thing going on.
Do you have a hard time understanding them, or
no, he's all right.
Okay.
But yeah, we caught a bunch of. So that was during perch spawning, or whatever. So we were catching a bunch of perch, and then we caught a bunch of rock bass. And the rock bass are those kind of, I don't know, uglier looking fish in the picture. They're not like, generally you don't keep rock bass because they're trash fish. But one of the guys said because in the wintertime their flesh gets tighter because it's cold. They said it's probably okay to keep. So we kept them anyways. I don't know, but those perch that we caught. So like I said, it's spawning season. They have these giant sacks of eggs in them, and one of the guys, he made us keep them because he wanted to deep fry them. So, and then he made us all eat a sack of fish eggs, deep fried sack of fish eggs that night.
How was it?
It was pretty gross. Just the texture was gritty and weird. I don't know. I guess he liked them. I was like not a fan. So, but yeah,
Fish competition is only in summer and spring because it's only summer and spring because there's a high chance of getting the big, medium, large fish. 1/3 chance, 50/50 chance. Okay.
yeah. I mean, people catch big fish through the ice. So, like, I mean,
Sturgeon.
probably. I don't know, large northern pikes or the big one that people try to catch are walleyes. That's kind of actually any time of year, that's what people try to catch. But ice fishing, it's kind of they're the best eating fish.
It's not catfish.
No, walleyes are good fish. Like catfish is pretty good, but I mean, like walleye is.
I'm allergic to fish, so I wouldn't know. It looks good, but I'm allergic. I can't eat it.
You're allergic to all kinds of fish, like tuna and everything?
No, I can eat shrimp, so I can eat shellfish.
Yeah.
Which is like within the last 10 years, I've been eating shellfish, but I can't eat fish. Like if it has gills, I can't eat it. I'll have a violent reaction. So.
Huh. That seems backwards. Normally people are allergic to shellfish and not regular fish. That's weird.
Like every 10 years, I try to like see if I'm still allergic, and it always goes bad. So.
Yeah, I can see that. So.
Well, I gotta hop off. But it's been real.
Alrighty.
In regards to what I would like to accomplish, I do need to make some progress. Where I left off last week was I wrote a test, but it wasn't hitting my service bus. So I'll try to get that to work. And the test that I wrote is whenever someone on the mobile app, when you suspend the application, then it needs to unsubscribe from Service Bus because I'm getting like thousands of errors in Service Bus, which is costing me money because those errors are treated as messages.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. So I remember one time I let it. I kept my program running, like my console windows running that were associated to Azure, and it was running for like I think like 2 days, and I had like I think I had like a million messages. It was bad, right? And I don't know. Short answer is I still don't fully understand Azure Service Bus errors because I feel like if there's an orphan client that's no longer connected that didn't go through the ceremony of closing a connection, it should just time out after a while, and it doesn't. So that's why I have to write all this code. So anyway, make long story short, I plan on trying to figure out how to get that test to pass so I could unsubscribe and then resubscribe when the app resumes again. So that's my goal for next week, which will probably take maybe 2-3 hours within the next 7 days. That's it.
Cool.
Well,
Are
you done with Elixir?
Huh? I don't know. I was learning it because of that job offer, or that was maybe to do that. So I don't know. I might be done with it. It's cool and all, but I don't know. I don't have a project to work on that I'm really passionate about. So I'm gonna build a fish house instead.
Okay.
I want to build like this whole modular. I have like in my head this whole. I know you got to run, but this whole modular system where I want to make it so that I could go and construct like this fish house on the ice, and then just take it all apart and put it on a standard trailer instead of putting it on and off as a single unit. I don't know.
That doesn't exist.
Like people either usually have like there's the 3 kinds of fish houses or shelters people have are like they'll have the big ice castle type ones where they're a camper basically, they'll have a shanty, a shack, or whatever, where it's a fixed one. Some of those have fold ups in them, and then there's just portable tent like shelters. But I don't know.
You need a, well, I won't say you need, but they don't sell like industrial size Legos that are hella large.
That's basically what I want to do is make like a system where I've got like a board that's mostly foam, but maybe it's got a sheet of plywood on one of the sides or both the sides, and then just what I would do is set up a frame, and then I just slide these pieces in to build up the shelter, and then it all just kind of snaps together. And but it's the big one thing is I want it to be infinitely expandable. Yeah. So like if I wanted to build a hotel on the ice, I could do it with these units.
There's YouTube videos on how to build big Lego bricks. So I'm curious if that can get you down the road, because I mean, yeah, it sounds like the Lego concept is probably the best way of doing that, where it's infinitely configurable.
Yeah.
It'll be even better if you can integrate run wires in them, and then that's like a mindstorm, right? Those type of Lego things.
Yeah. So, but anyways, I'll see what I come up with here. I just like the idea of trying to engineer something that's like build a housing structure out of standard size components, kind of a thing. So the entire thing would be systematized to the point where you could infinitely expand it is the goal. Like if you just follow this pattern, you could add this on and make a house that's 5 or 6, 7 times as big as what the prototype would be. So, but anyhow,
it should be once you figure out the machines to produce it, it should be able to scale, and you should just be able to have a business to demo it at whatever convention that specializes in ice houses, and then start building it out, and also start selling the hella large Legos. Right? I think you could build a business out of it.
Yeah, maybe.
And if that doesn't work,
the other bit of it, because you're out there in the freezing cold, like it's got to be something you can set up in, like I'm thinking 30 minutes or less. Like it has to be that easy to get this together. Like so I'm thinking of like the engineering constraints of infinitely expandable. It's warm, it's lightweight, it'll withstand the elements, and it can be set up in a half an hour and tore down in a half an hour or less. I think those are the main ones that I'd be thinking through. So,
I mean, they're so composable that you could just take hella Legos and then build out a module, and then you could just keep rebuilding those modules. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, Legos are thick, but that's the idea. Is that I have this idea of basically you got like let's just say it's a 2 by 2 foot square, or maybe a 2 by 4 foot square, and you've got it's a sheet of insulation foam with very thin plywood on at least one side and maybe plywood on the other side. I don't really know for sure yet, but make it so that there's like 2x4s or something sticking out the top, and then it has indents on the bottom, and then you just slide these on top, and then all you have to do is worry about building out like an I-frame on either side of it, so that
the other thing is you just have to consider the weight. What's the ideal weight for each block that you plug into another one?
Yeah. Oh, that's another constraint is it has to be buildable by one person. So the weight has to be manageable by a standard, which is why I think if you do mostly foam and you find a way to just reinforce it with some plywood around it, that would probably be lightweight enough where most people could handle it. The roofing is the hardest part of this whole thing, I think, because I could imagine.
Foam is eco-friendly, though, is it?
Huh?
Foam is not eco-friendly, is it?
Well, as long as you're not throwing it away, it is.
You say foam, styrofoam, right?
Well, it's styrofoam or like it's insulation foam. Like there's this pink stuff they sell at Home Depot that's that I would probably use. It's a sturdy foam rather than being like a squishy styrofoam. But I mean, it's insulation anyways, is what you're using as a static foam insulation. And I assume it's sturdy enough where I could just encase it within plywood, like thin plywood, and then connect it using, some strategically placed pieces of 2x4 or 2x2, and build a construction unit where I could just stack them up to 6 feet or something like that, or 8 feet. And then I just have to figure out the structure for building out the skeleton. The roof is, like I said, is the hardest part of this whole thing because once you build a 6 or 8 foot high structure, you got to somehow build a slant off of that. And if it's wide, that's even longer than that. And then it has to be something where the snow, if it'll support the snow that's going to snow on it, heavy snow, and it'll also not leak. So I don't know. It might be something where I have to come up with some tarp system or something like that, or maybe there's a thin piece of plastic that sits on top of another modular set. But the roofing is the part I haven't figured out how to engineer that yet. But we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. It's an interesting problem to think about.
I'm sure people have already thought about it. I'm curious what the history, I'm curious what people ran into.
Oh yeah,
20 years ago that thought about it. So
yeah, people have done. But thing is, like I said, most fish houses are static sized, or they're like fold ups, or they're tents. But I'm thinking of like these, modern modular, like prefabbed insulated boards type thing. So anyways, we'll see if I come up with something. So
I gotta take off. It's been real.
Have a good one. Yep.
You need to buy Halo Wars too so we can play. But
Yep, bye.